are you today? I hope you're doing well. When I film right after I have eaten food, I don't know why my face looks puffier. Like right now, I just was chewing. Is it because I was chewing? That is so strange because like my cheeks right here, like that has to be from just chewing. Isn't that weird? Anyway, I shouldn't have pointed it out, but I might cut it out. I'm so sorry. I wanted to come to you today to talk a little bit more about self-defense. And I wanted to come to you today to talk a little bit more about self-defense and tell you a story that sort of informs the discussion and is something that you should keep in mind for yourself and for anybody who is out there that might get combative towards you. And that is reaction time. It is very, very important to know what your reaction time is and what your response is to traumatic situations. I will give an example of this. I've been watching these videos lately, and they're reunion videos. They're in the shorts category, and they're basically like soldiers coming home from deployment or like a child coming home from going to college or something like that. Maybe you've seen them, and they're really fascinating to me. Now, usually I do not have the sound on when I'm watching the videos. I will be looking at the captions and doing something else. Like I don't even edit my own videos with the sound. I read my own lips and edit like that. And then I only listen to it the final way through. And then I tweak anything. I think that comes from film school because we largely worked with actual film. And so most of the films were silent. And so I was kind of like trained in the editing genre to focus more on what I could see than what I could hear, and then do the sound afterwards. But that's not the point. The point is I'm not listening with sound, so I'm very much paying attention to the people. And these people, human beings, have very different reaction times. There are some people who can not even recognize their own child for a few seconds when they're staring at them because they're not expecting them in the space, because these are videos that are about a surprise. And then there's some people that recognize them very quickly, and there's some people who can feel their energy. Now, there is only, and I've watched hundreds of these reunion clips, and I only saw one woman who was able to recognize her son by the feel of him. Like he came up and he stood behind her and he put his arm up to touch her on the shoulder, like the opposite shoulder, so she would turn around like that. And before he could even touch her shoulder, she broke down crying because she knew it was her son. And then I saw another woman who stared directly at her daughter for a while, sizing her up, like her body and stuff, judging her. And then she kept looking at her husband like, what's this girl standing here for? Until she recognized it was her own daughter. And then this woman, she grabs her boobs because her boobs are bigger than her daughter's. So you can tell like she's this kind of woman who has a problem with her own kid kind of outdoing her, even in front of her own husband. Like that was really interesting. But there's some people who don't recognize their kid just because they have on a mask. And it's not that they don't recognize their child. It's that they don't expect the person or their mom or whoever it is to be there. But then there's some people who are so quick. Like I watched one boy, he saw his mom and him were both like little rabbits. They ran to each other so fast. Their reaction times were so quick. And then some people's reaction is to run. Like from their own person that they love, like the person's trying to give them a hug and the person runs away, or they fall on the ground and they're inconsolable. Even like so much so that they're so into their own emotions that they're missing out on the fact that somebody from far away or from a long time that they haven't seen is right in front of them. And that is just informs not only self-defense, but a lot of things in life, just when you're handling people, when you're talking to people. And this is something that I dealt with my whole life because my grandmother had Alzheimer's. And so her reaction time and her ability to like understand was very, very lacking. Like she was very, very slow. And I'm a very, very quick person. Like I'm the kind of person where I could probably sense if one of my family members was in the area. I would sense it. And it doesn't even have to be an immediate family. That's how I am. I'll sense somebody who just is looking at me, who has a vibe, like anything. But not everybody's like that. And so it's good for you to know what your reaction time is like and what your response is to trauma. I'm sorry, the camera cut off. And see, like my face is not as puffy now. I think it swells up just from the chewing or something. Anyway, that's not the point. You have to know what your response is to a traumatic situation. For example, I'll give another example. One time I was with my aunt and my grandmother, and there was a woman lying in the middle of the street in my grandmother's, where she lived, like on her street. And my aunt was calling the paramedics for her, and she was so flustered by seeing this woman in the street that she was giving the paramedics the wrong information. She said that she had on a different outfit than she had on. She gave the wrong street, and it was the street that my grandmother lived on. She was so flustered and so nervous that she wasn't able to function properly. And some people are like that when it comes down to a situation. There's a lot of people where if somebody pulled a knife on them, they're not going to react like I did. And you have to know exactly who you are. And if you're a person who gets easily flustered, you have to learn how to control yourself enough to be able to be in control of yourself in one of those situations. And it would start with being able to just calm down so that you can look at something clearly. And that's something that comes with training if it's not natural, because some people just have that kind of flighty, butterfly type personality. And sometimes stuff happens where people need you to get up and be something a little bit more strong. And there's nothing wrong with honing those skills, not just for your own self-defense, but you could also help somebody with it later. Imagine something happens, somebody falls, somebody has a heart attack, somebody gets in a crash, and they need they scream for, does anybody have a doctor or whatever it is, and you need a calm energy in the situation. And I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where there's just been a random person who's been traumatized, and they've thanked me over and over again for being so calm and alert and able to just walk them through the steps. Like the other day, another story, a lady fell in front of Walmart, and it broke my heart because she had a bump right on her head, just like the one that I got. And I knew it was going to be it was right in that spot. And this is why the wrestlers cut themselves in this spot, because there's so much blood that pools in this area and will come out, and it can cause a scar. And I was so I just wanted to help her so much. And she was just like, are you an EMT or something? I'm just so glad that you're the person that was here when I fell, because I wouldn't have known what to do and all of that. And I was telling her exactly how to keep the swelling down and how to keep that scar tissue down. And she was like, oh my God, it sucks that I fell, but I couldn't have fallen in front of a better person to have fallen in front of. And just, it's good to be able to be that person for yourself and for other people whenever you can. So I'm all over the place, but I hope that made sense. And that is a lesson in not just self-defense, but just social skills and everything in general. Not everybody is exactly the same. And at the end of the day, there are people whose reaction times are less, and they don't really understand like other people, and they don't understand as quickly, and all of those things. And so you have to take that in consideration and be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle. Unless they try to shank you in the shower, and then you do what you got to do. Okay, just kidding. All right, love you. Bye.